What's your secret that could literally ruin your life if it came out? Everyone around me already knows that I was brought up by foster families because I had a rough early childhood. I deliberately keep it vague and say stuff like, I'd rather not go into it, so that people will just assume I was abused in some way, and they'll stop asking about it. The truth is that for the first 7 years of my life, I was brought up as a girl by my birth mother, who really wanted a daughter and didn't let the snag of giving birth to a boy stop her from trying to raise one. She was a pretty successful professional in a legal field. I'm not entirely sure what, and had me via an anonymous sperm donor from a fertility clinic. She found out I was a boy at a late ultrasound and then moved across the country. She gave birth to me at home and continued to move about until I was 5 or so. It was just the two of us all my life. We had contact with other people of course, but they rarely got very close. I had lots of friends but was always supervised. I found out much later that my mother's strong puritanical Christianity was a lie she used to explain why she was so strict about me being private, and never letting anyone see me get changed or anything. I just accepted all of this as fact, having never been told anything different. I was sent to a religious school for girls and had a really great childhood. I was a bit of a tomboy and played with Lego and toy animals rather than dolls and stuff, but that's not unusual, and no one ever questioned that I was a girl. Even me. I knew about men and women, but had never really seen much of naked people. My mother never, ever spoke to me about it, but I kinda had the impression that when I grew up and got breasts and stuff, my penis would kinda fall off or something, and I would be a woman. And other kids would keep their penises and they'd be men. I don't know. To be honest, I never really thought about it. Anyway, I carried on with my happy girlhood and had a bunch of friends and everything was great until I was 7, and a teacher accidentally spilled a cup of hot coffee over me at school. The liquid soaked through my clothes and was scalding me, so the staff immediately stripped me out of my dress and underwear to get the hot coffee away from my skin. And then they found out. The cops were called, and I got taken to speak with who I guess would be social services. They asked me a bunch of questions about life at home and stuff. Meanwhile, my mother was taken in for questioning too. She refused to acknowledge me as male and insisted I was her daughter. Because she was, delusional and stuff, I wasn't allowed to go back home but got put with a foster family and went through loads of therapy and stuff. The worst part was that literally overnight I lost everything. My mother, my home, all my toys, all my clothes. I moved schools, so I lost all my friends. They cut all my hair off and told me I wasn't a girl anymore. It was really traumatic. The first foster home wasn't that great. They had 3 boys already, and going from a sheltered, religious, only child upbringing to a rough and tumble, testosterone-filled environment was really difficult. They tried to force me to be masculine, and I was just too confused about what they wanted. Anything girly was reprimanded, and I felt so lost and alone because nothing I did was right. I tried to commit suicide when I was 11 and again at 13 because I didn't feel I fitted in anywhere. After the second attempt, they moved me to a different foster family who were awesome. I consider them to be my parents. They actually stood up for me. The first thing was that they let me grow my hair. From when I got taken into care, they buzzed my hair short, and I hated it. They always had to hold me down and do it forcibly while I was crying and fighting. My new parents flatly refused to do it and said that loads of boys had long hair. They also let me quit karate and football and take up swimming and jazz dance. Since I'd been in care, no one had ever stood up for my right to choose what activities to do or how to dress before. It was amazing. In the end, I came out of it with a pretty healthy gender identity. I'm a guy, but not the most butch guy ever, but I'm fine with that. I went through school and got my degree and have a pretty good job and an amazing supportive wife. Everything looks great, but I can never speak about my early childhood and how I grew up as a little girl. 2. First, I don't need an intervention. I just need to vent. June 16, 2009. My wife suddenly passed away at home at the age of 34. I was the one who found her, and she'd been gone for at least an hour if not more, when I did. We'd been together for 11 years. It wasn't perfect. What marriage is. But things had been worse and were in the process of finally getting better. Being best friends can help you get through the worst of times. I felt guilty that one of my thoughts was, at least now we won't fight over stupid crap that doesn't really matter. For at least 6 months, I was on autopilot. I went to work, did what I had to do to get paid, and just didn't care. I ate a lot of fast food because I didn't want to expend the energy to go to the grocery store. I bought my cats food from Amazon because they'd deliver it to my front door. Depression is a horrible thing. Only now can I look back and realize just how bad it was. It's not every day, but there are times when I think about joining my wife, but then that would just mean an end result of other people having to deal with the aftermath of my problems. There are days when I get home from work and unlock the front door and walk into a quiet house, where I would give up everything I own to have someone there to give me a hug and sincerely ask how my day went and honestly care about my answer. Something so simple as human touch, compassion, and companionship is worth more than anything else in the world. If you've got it, if you have someone that loves you, don't give that up. Don't waste it. Don't be petty or throw it away because of other little things that don't really matter in the grand scheme of life. Some of us wonder if we'll ever get to experience it again. 3. I came very close to committing a school shooting. I was picked on a lot in high school. I think it was because I tried so hard to be cool, and everyone saw right through it. There were these 4 cowboy jock types that gave it to me the worst. After being publicly humiliated and beaten in front of a girl I liked, as she laughed and cheered, I decided that none of it was worth it anymore. I had no support at home. Being an only child and having parents that worked constantly, and cutting and burning myself didn't make me feel better anymore. So I got my dad's handgun out of the gun safe. He uses the same combo for everything, the idiot, and brought it to school with me the next day. I can't adequately describe to you guys how ready I was to kill these four. I had absolutely no fear or doubt in my mind. I wanted nothing more than to show everyone what happens when you push someone over the edge like they did. I had the gun tucked in my waistline. I was wearing this baggy pair of cargo shorts that I wore a couple times a week that day. I remember walking towards the Cowboys table, so goddamn ready for it to be over, when the gun fell out of my waistline, down my left short leg, and made the loudest fucking sound as it hit the cafeteria floor. I tried my best to grab the gun real quick, but people saw what it was and screamed, and one of the instructors tackled me to the ground. They eventually concluded that I had brought the gun to school to impress people with badassery and had no intention of using it. I was expelled and sent to live at a youth ranch in Idaho until I was 18. I did have the intention of using it though. I was going to kill all of them. I'm 24 now, and I still think about it all the time. I have not recovered from high school. I'm still terrified of people in general and avoid having relationships because of what I fear I'm capable of. I'm not looking for pity. I know that what I did was wrong. It just feels good to tell the story. 4. Well, it's more of a secret to my friends that I've made recently. Some background first. I don't like being touched or hugged, and I'm incredibly uncomfortable with intimacy in general. When I was in the 8th grade, a bunch of girls in my class convinced me they had a friend who fancied me. They said she had seen me somewhere and thought I was cute. They faked an MSN account and talked to me every night for a few months, invited me out to the movies and obviously, didn't show up. Then they revealed to the whole grade that I had been tricked into having an imaginary girlfriend. I was mocked viciously by everyone in the grade, and ever since then I can't really trust women. I also can't believe that a girl may have feelings for me. Even when they explicitly tell me they have feelings for me, I can't help but feel like they're trying to trick me. It's caused a lot of insecurity, and I can't get attached to people easily. I'm terribly afraid to text or message people first because I'm convinced I would be annoying them. What's worse is that when I think about it, I know it probably isn't true, but I can't help but feel like it is. Even though it was grade 8, it was around the time when attraction to women was just starting to get real. So to be hurt at a time as delicate as that has really done some damage. The secret, of course, is that I had been dumb enough to be tricked. As you might suspect, the whole thing has left me afraid of being vulnerable. To have this found out by my newer friends, as in university friends, would put me in a really uncomfortable place. I probably wouldn't be able to be their friend anymore. 5. When I was in middle school and high school, my mom, sister and I were living with my stepfather for the better school district. Everything was fine for a few years, but he got crazy. Whenever my mom left for work, my sister and I were left alone with him until he left. He worked second shift. First, he'd start with yelling at us for no good reason. A reason? Yes, but never a good one. It was always insignificant. Needless to say, my sister and I were scared shitless when this happened. Things escalated from there. He'd start hitting us, almost every day. Again, always over something insignificant. A good example was when I hung one of his shirts with the hanger hook facing left instead of right. It got to a point several times where he'd actually grab whichever one of us happened to be in his way and hold us off the ground, against the wall, by the throat. To make it clear, my mother knew about none of this. The man knew how to hit you so it didn't leave a mark, and he is an obscenely good liar. Anytime we tried to call him out to her, he'd lie his way around it. The only time that other side came out around her, he blamed it on his heart medicine. My sister moved out when she turned 18, but I still had 3 years left, so now all of his anger was directed at me. One time in my senior year, I was actually scared for my life and ran off into the woods next to the house until my mom got home. She finally believed me then, and we made plans to leave as soon as I graduated. She told him she wanted to leave and he of course decided that I was costing him his marriage. Those last few months were hell, but in June of last year, we moved. I'm now in college, safely away from him. While I bear no malice against him, I will not forgive the shit he put me through. 6. I've pretty much been a screw-up all my life. When I told someone I was suicidal, they talked me out of doing it. But I laid on them a bullshit story about being abused as a child and just generally made myself seem so pitiful and helpless. They took me into their home and treated me as one of the family. Fed me, clothed me, everything, and never once asked me for anything in return. I still live here with them 10 years later. I work in the garden and help the 5th grader with homework. I do all the grocery shopping and cooking. And I live here like this all based on a pack of lies. I guess I'm mentally ill somehow, but I don't know if I can ever get better without telling someone the truth. It makes me feel sweaty and sick in my stomach to even think about telling anyone this story. Edit. Since some people are asking, I will add some more info. I used to have a good job in a successful business and a fiancé I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, until I found out alcohol was more important to her than anything else. She broke up with me rather than break up with booze, and I was completely devastated. I used to spend 30 minutes or more each day at work hiding in the walk-in refrigerator and crying. I talked to everyone about the situation. The consensus was that I should just forget her and go bang some hot women to get over it, but I just couldn't. After a few weeks, I walked out of work in the middle of the day and went home to take a shower. I started taking showers like 6 times a day and started planning how to kill myself. When I met someone who was sympathetic, it was just easier to play the part of a helpless victim who had been done wrong in so many ways that I needed to be rescued and taken care of rather than take responsibility for making my own situation better. 7. I was about 23 and was working kind of late. My friend wanted to go out and was bugging me about it. He's gay, I'm not. But eventually, he talked me into it. So we go to a little dive bar and are hanging out, just chatting. A couple of friends were supposed to come too, but they never showed up. I was nursing my first gin and tonic when I went to the bathroom. I came back and finished my drink, and that's when things started getting fuzzy. I knew something was wrong, so I ordered water for my second drink. But it didn't work. My world was spinning, and I had basically lost control of my motor functions. My memory is pretty rough too. I remember my head on the bar and he was rubbing my crotch. I remember him helping me to his car, dragging me up his stairs, passing out on his floor, him blowing me. I was back in his car at one point and then I woke up in my bed. I felt like shit and was totally surprised that my car was in the driveway. I have no idea how I got home. At one point in the night I left an incoherent voicemail on my best friend's phone. So I was raped, and I was so embarrassed he totally got away with it. I've never told anyone, not even my wife. She knows something happened, just not the extent. 8. I used to hear voices, for years. It started when I'd walk into my room and say hello to my Lane poster. I've always over-personified objects. Eventually, she started responding. Over time I could talk to her elsewhere. I'd pull her up when I was sitting in class or riding the bus, and I'd put on headphones so nobody would notice I was talking to myself since it was barely audible. Eventually, Lane told me she was a god and I was too, and there were 2 others, but they didn't really like me so they would almost never talk to me. A long time later, maybe years, she started being really mean and it turned out there was another voice who was just pretending to be Lane named Misery. This one was stereotypical. Everything I did was wrong and I had to pay for my actions. I should cut myself if I was ungraceful. Everyone hated me, etc. Lane split again, and this time she was sisterly. When I was upset and crying myself to sleep, I could feel her holding me and telling me everything would be alright. Misery looked different but could look like Lane if she wanted to fool me, although she would turn back into herself when I called her out on it. The 2 Lanes all looked the same, so I could only tell who they were when they started responding to me. After a while, they all just disappeared. I guess I saned up because during the peak, it never occurred to me I was hearing voices. They truly were gods who were speaking to me. Later during the time period, I realized that I was hallucinating with delusions of grandeur. Then at one point, I realized that there was more of me and less of them. When I pulled them up, it was a conscious effort, and part of their responses were forced on my part. Then eventually I just gave them up. They were so weak that it was really just like talking to myself and not to other people that lived in my head. That's not my secret. I've mentioned it to a few very select people that I truly trust. My secret is that I miss them. I miss them with all my heart, even Misery. They were friends and family. They were close to me. They understood me. And they were always there for me. Now even with real friends and family, there's nobody that close. I can't just pull up someone to talk to when I'm lonely. I have to call up a real person. And that person never knows what I want to talk about or what I'm hiding from them. They only know what I say. Lane, the main one, would always call me on my bullshit and make me keep changing my answer until I told her the truth. Misery could always find my biggest weaknesses, which allowed me to work on strengthening them. Sisterly Lane could calm me down in a way that's unimaginable. You can't comprehend how good it feels to be hugged by someone inside of you. And now I feel lonelier than I have in years because I almost never think of that time or remember how it felt. But tonight I'm sitting by myself at 2 a.m., and all I can think about is how much I want a voice to talk to. It's been so long since I had one. And I'd give anything to have another psychotic break so I could get back all my friends that live in my head. I once had a psychotic episode where I could talk to clouds, and I could feel how much they loved me. The clouds, the trees, the birds, they were all my friends and they all loved me and they all wanted me to be happy. I had that feeling on mushrooms once. Everything in the world loved me. Every single thing. The house, the ceiling, the lamp, each blade of grass. It all loved me, and it was the best feeling I have ever known. That was the best night of my life. I can't tell you how much I want to feel that again. I just have no way of tracking them down again. Being crazy feels amazing. Whether it's good or bad. Even the bad crazy where I'd stay awake all night because I knew something was going to get me in my sleep and I'd try to claw the evil out of my skin. Even that's preferable to being normal because the intensity is indescribable. I miss everything about being crazy. I miss it more than I can possibly describe. What is a secret you will take to the grave? Let me know in the comments.
Thanks for watching. If you got this far, leave a comment, like if you liked it, and follow for more.